of living, and you know the National Assembly Finance Committee has proposed the reduction of taxes and levies charged on petroleum and petroleum products by at least 50%. The chair of the Finance Committee is here with us, but Wamatangi, I'll start with you. Is this too little, too late? Do we even know why our fuel products prices are just haphazard? Will this even address the issue?
Trevor, probably just to close the comments that were made by my colleague, I'll just close it in one line. I think that debate, we should close it with just the most obvious statement that has always been made eternally, that don't give a man fish, show him how to fish. I think that's it. And,
Okay.
That should be the way we would want to have our psyche, building a good country. On this question of the fuel prices, I think, and I saw the news coverage that you gave to that eventuality. You know, Trevor, we have to agree, and the task force that gave its report could not have done a better job, in my view, in not only stating the fact that it is not impossible to bring down fuel prices. It is not impossible to cut down on those taxes. You know, the whole line of all those taxes that are levied on fuel products to finally give that final price. And it is not out of scope that indeed the cost of power itself at the meter where the consumer pays can also come down. All those are realities that are achievable. And the only thing that needs to happen is to have a willing government, able and efficient entities, for example, like the Kenya Power, KenGen, and others, and EPRA, to ensure that at the end of the day, what they are looking at is not only what goes into the basket via taxation, but indeed the base where this whole food is cooked, so that you can get that surplus that you call taxation and put it in that basket. Because that is where we miss it all the time. That you find that when most of these entities, including the Kenya Revenue Authority, and I would want to draw back the minds of those given this responsibility to some comments that were made by President Samia in her country after she left this country. And she was talking to her own revenue authority and telling them that she was displeased with their approach, that they think that they can go and raid businesses and interfere with the processes of those businesses, including incarcerating businessmen so that they can raise taxes. And at the end of the day, they'll bring numbers that say that we met the target. But what kind of destruction have they left behind? And I think this is what I would want to be speaking to briefly, Trevor, that this mindset now must come to our people, that we have given that responsibility, so that when you think about setting fuel prices, don't just think about the amount of tax you're going to levy, because there's a deficit in the budget that has got to be closed. And the easiest place to go and get that extra money is because people must fuel, and because it is easier to get it through another new fuel tax, then you can do that quickly to raise the prices. I think at the end of the day, if we think about how eventually do we build an economy and empower the people, and then collect taxes across a wider board, then we can be able to achieve the realities of lower taxation.
Okay. Dr. Alwale, on this fuel issue, what is the solution? Is the solution being proposed by the Finance Committee the best, or is it dealing with the cartels? Like the Deputy President says, there are many cartels in between there.
In fact, it will take Kenyans a very big effort to read and trust anything from the Finance Committee of Parliament, for the simple reason that this problem was created by Parliament. If Parliament had been Parliament, the VAT imposition would never ever have gone through Parliament, and these things would never have come about. The only reason why fuel is more expensive in Kenya, which is closer to Mombasa, where it lands before it finds its way to Kenya and eventually Uganda, why it is more expensive here than in Uganda is because of the misadventure by Parliament, led by Honorable Wanga's committee, to then allow...
At the time it was Limu.
I'll give you a chance to respond last because you're the chair.
I don't think those lies should be allowed because I've been...
You will debunk it. You will debunk it. Just write it down. Yeah, go ahead.
What I was being generous by saying Gladys Wanga's committee, I didn't mean she was the one who did it. I meant the Committee of Finance, where she's the chairman now. Even before you were chairman, you were a member of that committee.
No.
So the decision of a committee is not the decision of the chairman. It binds all the members. And it is this committee which then goes and informs Parliament. Yeah. And the way Parliament works is that we have a lot of confidence in committees. The committee then guides us. I can assure you, in the parliaments in which I served, this kind of thing would never have ever passed. So the bottom line is we need salvation, not from Parliament, but just from the head of state.
Okay.
To just reverse that decision and we end the suffering of Kenyans.
Okay.
Yeah.
Governor Mutua?
Well,
you know, I'll come to you last because this is your topic.
Your committee will come last.
You know, when I was in Rwanda, let me use Rwanda again as an example. I went to a petrol station and I did a small piece to camera, which I'll air soon, and looking at the prices of fuel in Rwanda, and you find that you know, it's about 100 shillings, 110 shillings per liter, whereas ours is much higher. Whereas that petrol that they are consuming in Rwanda came through Kenya, passed through Mombasa, all Mombasa Road through to Kambani, Athi River, Nairobi here, Eldoret, Gilgil, all the way to Western Kenya, crossed the border, Uganda, Jinja, Kampala, Ruwenzori Mountains. They came down those very happy hills, all the way to Kigali distribution center. Then they were picked by trucks and then taken to individual petrol stations. A whole process. Yes. And yet fuel is cheaper in Kigali, Rwanda, than in Kenya, where imekuja tu hapa Mombasa. But then you see, it's all about taxation and about leakage. For me, the problem is not even about the cost of fuel. The problem is the system that we have currently in this country, where there's so much leakage and wastage because of the bureaucracy that we've put into place. And I keep on talking about that. There's so much leakage. So even before we start raising taxes or saying let's lower tax on this, we have to seal the leakage. Now, we have to be also realistic. Why are the prices of fuel up? Why are the taxation high? Because the government needs resources. It's the easiest place to go and get resources. We need these resources to build our roads, to fund pre-primary education, to fund healthcare and others. We need the money. That's a reality. And so in parliamentary committees, when Parliament votes to bring down the price of fuel, the taxes fuel, they have to give us an alternative. Where are we getting the money from? I mean, realistically. Yeah. But the problem has been, I remember during the Kibaki era, we collected taxes, but we did not raise tax levels. Why? Because we broaden the base. Yeah. That's what I keep on talking about. Let us broaden the base. Okay. Let us not just concentrate on a few sources of revenue. And finally, as we stop this leakage, we need an efficient system. We need a government that is efficient. When roads are constructed over 5-7 years, you know, a couple meet, they fall in love, they get married, they breed, they have a child, the child enters standard 1, na barabara ile ilianza haijamalizika. Yeah. When roads take too long to get completed, when projects take too long to get completed, the cost of production goes high. Our money is being spent on things that should have now be generating money for us. So we have to have more efficiency in our, efficiency in our government. Yeah. We need to have a stoppage of leakage, and all these problems that we are seeing today is because of a failed economic solution in the Uhuru Ruto government currently, the way it is being set up. Okay. And I say Uhuru Ruto because Ruto cannot divorce himself from the policies of Uhuru Kenyatta. They got elected together, and it is their government. They're enjoying the parks together. They're enjoying the motorcades together. It is their problem. They have sorted the economy of Kenya in a way that makes me cringe when I remember the days of Kibaki and what we were able to do.
Okay, Wanga, now you can respond to them because this is your committee.
Yeah. So first of all, let me just pose this question. It's rhetoric. Is there a place for social protection in this country? Yes, there is. And that is where the 6,000 month plan comes in. So I wanted to state that out of all the things that have been said, that there is a place for social protection, and that is where the plan for 6,000 shillings a month comes in. It does not replace job creation.
Yeah.
It does not replace any other programs of government to spur up or stir up the economy. Secondly, I want to, I know that my brother Boni here has talked about Kazi Kwa Vijana, which was, something that was a creation to sort of taint my party leader. But I want to ask, I mean, who's the architect of the maize scandal that PwC actually found that the PA to William Ruto was dishing letters for people to bring maize that created a huge maize scandal? What about the Hustler Jet scandal? What about the Langata Primary School land? What about Kenya Pipeline land? What about MTRH? What about Aror Kimwarer? When you talk about corruption, we know where the home of corruption is. So I don't think Boni has a place. If we are talking about corruption in this country, we know where it is domiciled. Then I will come to the issue of fuel prices. First of all, Boni was misleading the public that I was a member of the finance committee then. I wasn't. If the deputy president comes out now to say there are cartels within the ministry, and this Ministry of Energy and Petroleum as it has become, has been headed by allies of the deputy president. And that's why yesterday I said maybe he should tell us who the cartels are or if he's part of that cartel. Because if you think about Chirchir was the first minister for energy there, then was taken over by our brother Keter and so on and so forth. So that aside, then coming to the issue of taxes. In fact, at the time when these taxes were being added, the chair of the finance committee was also another ally of the deputy president. He's called One Limo. So what we are trying to deal with now is what was created by the deputy president's allies, and therefore he shouldn't come out now to try and look good. And this is the hypocrisy that we keep calling out from this so-called Hustler brigade. But coming back to our report, we have had a chance now to look at the taxes and the levies, Trevor. And then we've also seen that there are certain levies that are supposed to be used for certain purposes. For example, you have the Petroleum Development Levy, which was raised from 40 cents to 5 shillings and 40 cents. When it was raised from 40 cents to 5 shillings and 40 cents, and by the way, at that time when it was being raised, the chair of the Delegated Legislation Committee was Gladys Boschole. So, nobody should run away from that problem. When it was raised, it is supposed to be for purposes of stabilization. Now, out of the 5 shillings and 40 cents, 25 billion shillings was raised. That is supposed to be kept so that in times where crude prices go up, because part of the reason now why the fuel prices are up is because global prices of crude have gone up. And therefore, this money is supposed to come in at this point to stabilize. But we found that 18 billion had been used for infrastructure. And therefore, when the Ministry for Petroleum asked for money for purposes of stabilization, Treasury said, we no longer have the money. So part of the proposals we are making is to tighten how this stabilization money is supposed to be used, so that it is clear in law that you can only use it for purposes of stabilization. And then the road maintenance levy, which is also 18 shillings per litre of fuel, is what goes to infrastructure and roads, and then the petroleum development levy remains for purposes of stabilization. So those are some of the proposals made, of course, including how to cut down a bit on those levies, those taxes.
So this 50%, is it just on VAT or all the taxes? Because there are more than 9 different taxations.
So we are proposing a reduction of VAT by 50%. We're proposing a reduction of the Petroleum Development Levy from 5 shillings and 40 cents to 2 shillings and 50 cents. We are proposing, and we're doing all this, of course, in the reality. We have to put on 2 caps as finance committee, that we are supposed to look at the fiscal framework and how it balances, but as representatives of the people, that we are supposed to look at the pressure. Another place that we've gone for is what you call the profits, sort of from 12 shillings per litre to 9 shillings per litre, reducing it by 3 shillings per litre.
So in your own projections, how much should a litre of petrol be costing when all the...
If all these interventions are made,
on average,
we are going to reduce the cost of fuel by not less than 12 shillings per litre. That is if by the time all our measures have been put in place. But we are looking out to see what EPRA is doing today, which is going to be maybe they are going to look for stabilization to be able to subsidize the costs. But our report is before Parliament, so then we will see after it comes out. We've done not just a report, we've also done a draft amendment bill, which we're calling the Petroleum Products Amendment.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, I have to wind up, but I'll give you a chance, 1 minute each for closing remarks, starting with you, Dr. Halwale. Closing remarks, just 1 minute. You're ready 50 seconds now. Now 40 seconds.
Trevor,
I think you're going to finish in 1 minute.
What is exciting me is that we are all talking about the economy as we go to the next election. It's important that we do so, because if the Americans did it, if they created an American dream, it is not too late. We can create a Kenyan dream. And at the Hustler Nation, we believe that the Kenyan dream, really, taking this country forward, should be, we should all be born and grow dreaming that we can enjoy equal access to opportunity and also be part of sharing of the success that comes from that kind of prosperity. So shared prosperity and equal access to opportunity. If it is the dream of Kenyans, then we will not have to worry about anything. The country will just move on.
All right. Matangi, 1 minute.
Maybe I'll take my minute, but part of what I would want to remind my brother, Dr. Halwale, is, our problem, Trevor, is that during elections time, we help Kenyans to dream a lot and make those promises that are very alluring, and you remember that joke that was being told here by my running mate here about when this man went to hell and found Satan there dressed in a tuxedo and an expensive hat, sipping champagne. And then when the guy went up to heaven to say, now I think I've made my decision, I don't want to stay in heaven, I want to go and stay in hell, because I saw it is not as bad. Then when the guy went back and then asked the devil, Allah, what has happened immediately? I've just come back and then I'm seeing you on fire and this place is miserable. The devil said, no, when you came last time we were campaigning. So,
I like that.
So, because, our biggest problem is because you find that those dreams after campaigns remain dreams for Kenyans. And politicians move on to craft the next dreams for the next election. And this is our challenge. And because I come from that background, whereby before being privileged by the Almighty with the opportunity to at least sit in the forefront and be able to put my voice as to how Kenyans are led, I've been a victim many times over, until when I got here. I just want to say to my colleagues, we have dreamt for too long. I think we need to put things now into actualization. And that's why I would be firmly saying to all those that we are giving the opportunity to leaders in the front, our presidential candidates, that if you craft a model that you are promising to our people, let it be a model that is going to work. That bottom up that Boni Halwale is saying, the Azimio la Umoja team, the Chap team, and all those others, when we come to say and show Kenyans what we are saying we're going to do to do for them, let it be for real. And lastly, I will say to our Kenyan people, for goodness sake, don't throw away your marking scheme just because the election is over. Keep it such that once you have elected people, then ask and use that marking scheme. Ask the questions.
Okay.
Did you do what you said? And that is why you find we have a distinctive difference.
Yeah.
When a president, for example, like when Obama was elected, the first thing they do is to go back to their election promises.
Yeah.
And they say, can we start implementing? He said, I'm going to kill and remove Osama bin Laden as a threat.
Yeah.
He went for him.
Okay.
They say we are going to ensure that we have enacted a welfare program that takes care of people. He enacted Obamacare.
Okay.
I mean, that is how elections are supposed and what they're supposed to mean to the population.
Okay.
In the Kenyan aspect, it is the opposite.
Okay.
It is a ticket to take people to the other shore, and then you get left behind here waiting for the next colored boat with nice music that will come back and take you back and give those people a fresh ticket, and you still remain where you are. Right. That is what we have to change.
Governor Mutua.
Well spoken. Very quickly, 3 main points. The first one is that as a parent, I'm worried when there's a child killer on the loose. I think it is high time that the police kept us briefed on how far they are in finding this person. I've not seen any statement saying that asking the public to help identify where this person is or what investigations. The silence is worrying. I don't think that we have to go as far as Mutyambai having to resign, because having worked in government, even as a governor, I know that a lot of people down there make a lot of mistakes. There are a lot of good police officers, so, you know, people need to be blamed for what they have done, not necessarily that just because you're in charge that you have to resign, but his actions need to be seen. Number 2, quickly, on the economy issue, as my colleague has said, there's the difference between dreams versus reality. And it comes down to this: do people have a track record? You know, wengine wanasema kazi ni kazi, wengine wamesema mwizi ni mwizi. What is the track record of the leader? Can the leader perform? Where was I re-elected in Machakos for the 2nd term? Because I made promises and I kept to those promises. When it comes to 2022, we need a scorecard. People to be told, you said this, what have you done? You want a higher office, what were you able to do? You may not have done everything, but you have to have the ability to show that you've actually kept part of your promise. I'll be coming up with my my manifesto, and I'll be launching my campaign sometime next month. As you know, I don't like talking a lot, giving specifics about what my manifesto will be, because there are some fellows who just sit down and take notes and then copy, and they run around the country just declaring it is their idea. So I've become very, very cautious on air in giving my ideas until the right time. And lastly, to say that even as we continue, there's a by-election today in Ngu Masumbu ward in Kibwezi, and I call upon people to come out and vote wisely for the right person, for the right decision, to be able to move that ward forward, because they lost their last person. And to finally say that despite all these things we are talking here, Kenya is still a great country. We should not lose hope. Na mbele bado iko sawa.
All right, Honorable Wanga, wind this up for us.
No. Thank you, Trevor. I think we must look deeply at our moral fabric and check what's happening with our families. The church, I'd like to call on the church to come up and take its place in terms of guiding our families, especially the younger families, so that we don't end up with deaths and murders, you know, unnecessary loss of life. And as Kenyans, you know, look forward to this electioneering period, as has been said, you know, let's look out, let's have our ears out, let's look at who has the best ideas, let's look at who's credible, let's look at who has a track record, let's look at who is believable in terms of the things that they say, because the promises will be coming in fast and furious, but you must judge people with what has their past held. Thank you, Trevor.
All right, thank you so much for making time this morning. We're taking a quick break here on Daybreak. When we come back, Willis Bazura Buru is back in a bit with cooking tips, all right? Bye for now.